You ever start a job thinking, this is exactly what I needed? That's what I thought when I took the ranger position out at Ravenwood Station. I wanted quiet, fresh air, a break from people and the weight of city living. What I got instead was a blood-colored forest that breathes when it thinks you're not watching. The orientation packet was standard at first. Page 1, payroll info. Page 2, fire protocols. Page 3, a list of rules printed on paper so old it flaked at the edges. No title, just red block letters across the top. For night rangers only. Do not violate these. Here's what was written. 1. Do not whistle after midnight. 2. Do not follow the purple lights. 3. Do not touch the sap after dark. 4. Do not acknowledge voices calling your name if you're alone. 5. If you wake up with leaves in your mouth, do not open your eyes. 6. Do not let the trees see you bleed. 7. Itara lives here. It listens. It waits. I laughed when I read it. Thought it was some weird hazing ritual from the old guard. I didn't laugh later. The first time I saw the sap, I was hiking through Sector 9, logging fallen pines from last month's storm. It wasn't amber or gold like normal. It was dark, red, thick, almost black. It oozed in slow motion down the bark, like blood in molasses. It smelled sweet and wrong, like spoiled sugar and copper. I made the mistake of touching it. Just a fingertip. It felt warm, not sticky, alive. I wiped it on my pants and moved on. But my hand tingled for hours. Later that night, I noticed a rash forming across my palm spirals, raised, tight, and pulsing slightly under the skin. I didn't sleep much. Around 12, 43, I heard whistling. Not a tune, not a song. Just 3 steady notes. Low, high, low. It came from outside the ranger cabin. I stepped out with my flashlight. Nobody there. But the trees, they looked closer than they did during the day. Tighter together. Watching, I tried to brush it off, chalk it up to wind, to nerves, to my own isolation. But the next morning, there were footprints outside the cabin, bare feet, deep in the mud, leading into the woods, then stopping mid-stride. I radioed HQ, no response. I logged it, did a sweep. No signs of hikers, drifters, or animals. But that sap, it had spread, more trees leaking it, and every one of them with those weird spiral etchings burned into the bark like a pattern, or maybe even a language. 3 days later, I found the first handprint, deep in Sector 12, pressed into the side of an old birch. Large, human, covered in dried, red sap. Next to it, etched into the wood. Logan, my name. I never carved it. No one should know I was here yet. I hadn't even updated the online trail system. But it was there, and the sap around it. It was still warm. That night, the forest spoke to me. Not like animals. Not the wind. No. Something behind the trees called my name in a language I didn't know, but still understood. Low, wet, hungry. I'm writing this now because something's inside the trees. I saw it. Not just shapes or shadows. A mass of flesh, moving, veined, breathing. It pushed out from a tree trunk like a tumor rupturing the bark. It had no face, just folds of raw tissue and teeth. And when it opened, it whispered, "Itara is waking." I thought I could ignore it, write it off, file the bleeding trees and the teeth in the bark under sleep deprivation and forest psychosis. But I'm past denial now, because last night, the forest tried to lure me in. It started around 11. FinCGP. I was inside the cabin, writing up my patrol report and drinking that weak instant coffee we keep in the emergency tin. The ranger station lights flickered. Power surges happen, no big deal. But then I saw it, a faint purple glow through the window. Not white, not yellow, not orange like fire. Purple, unnatural, cold, soft like a bruise beneath skin. I stepped outside. Bad idea. The lights were clustered about 30 yards into the trees, just hovering, floating like lanterns. No source, no posts, no bugs buzzing around them, just orbs. I know the rules. I remembered Rule 2 like a siren in the back of my skull. Do not follow the purple lights. So I didn't, at least, not at first. But they moved, drifted back deeper into the woods. Slow, pulsing, like they were breathing, and behind them, something moved, something big, something I didn't see, but felt. The silence was thick. No frogs, no owls, no wind, just the hum of those lights. I turned back toward the cabin, told myself to shut the door and forget what I saw. But the radio clicked on, crackled once, then a voice. Logan. It was mine, my voice, but slower, like something was pressing it through layers of wet cloth. I ran to the radio, grabbed the mic. Who is this? You already followed the lights. I froze, because I hadn't, but then I looked down at my boots. They were wet, slick with red sap and pine needles. Beat. I had no memory of leaving the porch. I don't remember walking. But I was 30 feet from the tree line. I didn't notice until I turned and saw how far the cabin had gotten. The lights were behind me now, closer, brighter. A sound drifted from their direction, soft, slippery. A word repeated, come, 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 come. I bolted, ran back to the cabin, slammed the door, locked it, twice. Then I heard something scrape the outside wall. Not claws, not hands. It sounded like roots, dragging, searching, pulling. I backed into the bathroom, turned the mirror around, just in case, and waited. Eventually, the lights vanished. I didn't sleep, but I lived. Beat, for now. This morning, I found something new. A note pinned to the front door. Written on that same red-flaked parchment from the rules sheet. It said, rule broken. Next infraction results in harvest. Harvest. I checked the original rule list. A new one had been added. In blood red ink at the bottom. Oh, if the lights follow you back, do not sleep. You must burn the clothes before dawn. I hadn't burned them. I hadn't even changed. I ran outside. Stripped down to my boxers in the middle of the clearing, tossed my uniform in the burn barrel, and lit a match. Went up fast, too fast. The flames burned purple. The smoke drifted into the trees, and from somewhere beyond the ridge, I heard something laugh. By now, I've learned two things. One, the rules aren't a joke. Two, they change when the forest wants them to. It's been 5 days since I burned the uniform. 5 days of keeping every light in the cabin on, every window shut, every mirror covered with tape and newspaper. I've stopped sleeping, because every time I close my eyes, I wake up somewhere new. Not far, never more than a few feet from the cabin, but always closer to the trees. This morning, I found something growing on the side of the station. At first glance, I thought it was moss. Dark red, thick patches climbing up the wall like ivy. But it pulsed when I touched it, warm, like breath through a lung. I scraped a sample into a jar. It fought back. The sample writhed inside the glass, coiled like it had nerves. And when I closed the lid, it twitched against the side and formed letters. L-O-G-O-N. It spelled my name. The jar is still sitting on the desk, still twitching. I've turned it toward the wall so I don't have to look at it, but I can still hear it moving. tried to call the regional station again. Static. Only once did I hear anything back. A voice. Not mine. Not Maya's. Female. Soft. It whispered. The trees remember you. You were here before. I don't know what that means. I've never been to Ravenwood Station before this post. At least I didn't think I had. But now I'm finding evidence that I might be wrong. In the root cellar behind the station, there's a trapdoor. I only noticed it yesterday while checking for mold. It was nailed shut. I pried it open with a crowbar and descended into what looked like a small sub-basement lined with decaying paper and old ranger logs. Most of them were mold-eaten, illegible, except for one. A leather-bound notebook labeled Ranger Mercer, Shift Notes, 1987. That's my last name. Inside were drawings, sketches of trees with mouths, roots like hands, eyes in the bark, notes in the margins. Do not bleed in the forest. The sap is not sap, it is memory. Tara claimed Walker. We burned his remains, but it grew back. I'm not the first Mercer assigned here. Why won't they tell me? Same name, same job, same rules. Is it coincidence? Or am I some kind of replacement? A loop? Tonight, the forest called my name again. Not a whisper this time. A chorus. Voices layered on top of each other. Some male, some female, some wrong. Like an animal trying to approximate speech. Low. Gun. I stepped outside. The red sap was everywhere now. It bled down the trees like open veins. Some of the trunks had holes forming, and from one of them, I saw it. A mouth made of splinters and skin. It opened and said, "We remember your shape. Return to the tree." I didn't scream. I couldn't. Something in the air, sweet and metallic, made my throat lock up. I backed away slowly, shut the door, but not before I saw it. One of the trees had grown fingers. Not branches, not bark. Fingers. Human. And they were pointing at me. Later, a new rule appeared on the wall, scrawled in black-red resin across the cabin's window. Nye, do not read your own name aloud after dusk. It's written backwards, from the inside. I wasn't expecting help. Hell, I wasn't expecting to last the week. But yesterday, a truck came crawling up the old service road. Black, mud-caked, unmarked. The woman who stepped out didn't look like rescue. She looked like she hadn't slept in days. Name, Dr. Mary Keller. Field, Mycology and Molecular Biology. Sent by HQ, or so she said. But no official uniform, no badge, no paperwork. She handed me a file. It was wrapped in wax paper. Inside, photos. Red sap samples under an electron microscope. But the cells weren't plant-based. They weren't tree sap. They were flesh. Mary spoke fast, like she was afraid something might be listening. This forest isn't a habitat. It's a body. One massive, interconnected biome built from tissue, memory, and fungus. She looked at me dead on. It's trying to absorb you. I showed her the rash on my palm. The spirals had grown larger, spread across the top of my hand, and were now branching along my wrist like veins. She swore under her breath. You've already been marked. I took her on a walk through Sector 9, where the sap started, where the trees moved. She brought a thermal scanner. Half the forest was warm, even in 40-degree morning air. The trunks gave off heat, more disturbing. They had pulse signatures, not erratic, rhythmic, like a heartbeat. She kneeled near one of the bleeding oaks, used a scalpel to scrape a droplet into a vial. When the metal touched the bark, the tree twitched, not in the wind, not coincidentally. It recoiled. Mary stood and whispered, "It's awake, or part of it is." I asked her what it was. She didn't hesitate. It calls itself Itara. That name again. I didn't tell her I'd already heard it, already seen it spelled in the dirt, whispered in sap. I didn't tell her about the mouth in the trunk. I didn't need to, because that night, it showed her. We were back at the station, going through her notes when the whistling began. Low, high, low, same 3 tones, but closer this time. Mary went stiff. She stood, walked to the window, and didn't say a word. I joined her and felt my stomach turn. The forest was watching us. The trees had leaned inward. Branches pointed at the cabin like accusing fingers, and all around the clearing, the ground had begun to move, like something breathing beneath the earth. She turned to me. We need to go deeper, to the grove. That's where it started. I asked what grove. She pulled a map. It was hand-drawn. Old-eye, water-stained, an unmarked area circled in red. Raven's Root. No trail led there, no GPS coordinates. But she said she'd seen it once, years ago. During another assignment she wasn't supposed to survive. That night, she slept on the cot near the back room. I stayed up, watching the forest pulse in moonlight. Sometime around 3:00 I nodded off, just for a second. I woke up when I heard whispering. Mary was standing outside, barefoot, covered in sap, and the trees. They were leaning in, just a little more than they had before. I pulled her back inside. She didn't remember leaving the cot, didn't remember walking out, didn't remember the word she'd scrawled in the condensation on the cabin window. Itara, written backwards, like she was trying to warn herself, or something inside her was trying to get out. We left at first light. No trail, no compass, just Mary's faded map and a line of scarred trees pointing east. Bark split open like mouths mid-scream. We didn't talk much as we moved deeper. The air felt different past Sector 12. Wet, thick, sweet, like we were walking through the inside of something alive. Mary kept scanning the soil with a handheld sensor. It beeped, constant, annoying. Then, silence. We're here, she said. I looked around. Nothing but trees. But the ground under my feet, it wasn't dirt anymore. It was red, dense, veined with black lines, soft to the touch, like flesh. She called it the threshold. Raven's Root. No birds here, no wind, only stillness. Like the forest had sucked all the sound away to focus on us. We saw the first body about 10 minutes in. It hung 20 feet above the ground, upside down, cocooned in vines of dried sap and moss. Face exposed, eyes wide open, still blinking, still alive. I froze. He whispered something when we got close, barely audible. Please, let me sleep. I looked at Mary. Her face had gone pale. The forest keeps them suspended, half dead, half aware. Neural signatures still active. Why? I asked. She didn't answer, but her eyes were locked on the trees around us. And then I saw them too. More bodies, dozens, some in pieces, some whole, their limbs woven into trunks like meat through lattice work, and all of them marked with the same spiral pattern as my hand. We were standing in the center of a shrine, except this wasn't religious. It was biological. The trees weren't just holding them, they were feeding off them, siphoning blood, digesting consciousness. And from the center of the grove rose something else entirely. A monolith of knotted bark and sinew, 15 feet tall, oozing red sap from a central wound. It opened when we got close. A slit, vertical, inside, a tongue, made of roots. And it moved. Mary dropped to her knees, clutching her ears. I heard it then, a voice, not through my ears, through my bones. You broke the rule. You followed the name. I stepped back. What do you want? The voice trembled the marrow in my spine. You were promised, given, left behind. We grow from you, Mary screamed. Blood leaked from her nose. The trees leaned in closer, groaning like wood under pressure. Itara is the body. You are the memory. Then the mouth closed. Mary was barely conscious. I dragged her out of the clearing as fast as I could. We didn't stop until the sap-stained soil gave way to moss and pine again. Even then, the trees followed us with their eyes. I swear I saw knots twisting into pupils just for a second, just enough to watch. We made it back to the cabin by dusk. Mary hasn't spoken since. She scribbles, jots down symbols I don't recognize. They look like roots. Later, I checked my arm. The spiral has grown again. Now it curls around my bicep like a tattoo. But it's moving, pulsing, like something underneath the skin is waiting to burst out. There's a new rule scratched into the cabin door, carved deep, fresh. Do not step beyond the grove twice. The second time, you won't come back alone. I didn't write it. Mary didn't either. So who did? Mary came back around at sunrise. But she was different. Still her, technically. Same voice, same eyes. But the way she looked at me, like I was a specimen under a microscope. Not a person, not anymore. I caught her in the supply shed behind the station. She was huddled over the workbench, whispering to herself. Didn't even flinch when I opened the door. Jars, vials, samples. One of them was moving. Where'd you get those? I asked. She didn't look up, didn't speak. Just rotated one of the vials gently between her fingers like she was rocking a baby. Inside, it was a chunk of living tissue, red, stringy, threaded with black veins and little white nodules that pulsed in sync with my heartbeat. I swear I didn't imagine it. Every time I stepped closer, the pulse got stronger. Then it moved, not by accident, not because of motion. It reached for the glass. Toward me, Mary finally spoke. It responds to you. I took a step back. Why? She didn't answer. Just opened her notebook and pointed to a sketched diagram. It showed a spiral the same one from my hand. But this one was layered, almost like a fingerprint. At the center was a symbol I hadn't seen before. A ring encasing a single vertical line, like a seed in a womb. It's not marking you, she whispered. It's remembering you. Grabbed the vial, holding it up to the light. Inside, a fragment of red root, no bigger than a finger. But when I whispered my name, Logan, it twitched, curled, then uncurled. It recognized me. I nearly dropped it. Mary finally looked me in the eye. Whatever this thing is, it's storing consciousness, memories, maybe even whole identities. She pointed to the vial. That's not just tissue. It's you, or something that thinks it is. My head started spinning. I remembered the notebook in the root cellar. The older Ranger Mercer from 1987. Same last name. Was it just coincidence? Or was this thing keeping a version of me alive, trying again and again until it got the right one? Mary handed me a second vial. This one labeled Walker, 1987. The sample inside, identical. Same spiral pulses, same root nodules, same reaction when I said my name. Itara doesn't just eat people, she said. It copies them. Why me? I asked. She hesitated. Maybe because you're still incomplete. We stayed up through the night, trying to analyze the tissue under her field microscope. At around 2, something changed. The cells began to divide, rapidly, almost violently. They split into 4, then 8, then 16, each one forming tiny nerve clusters and eye-like spots. Then they froze. The lights in the cabin cut out. Power flickered. generator failed. Then came the whisper, right outside the window. So soft, it barely reached the air. But it wasn't Mary's voice, or mine. It was every voice we'd heard so far, mashed into one. Come home. Come back. Come become. Mary panicked, knocked over the microscope. The vial cracked. The tissue hit the floor. We both froze. It didn't stop moving. Instead, it began to crawl toward me, slowly, in pulses, like a leech drawn to blood. We burned it, had to, doused it in ethanol and lit a match. It screamed, not audibly. Inside, in my teeth. Later, we checked the door. Another rule had appeared. Not carved, not painted, grown, formed from bark twisted through the window frame. Levela, if it hears its name in your voice, it will come wearing your skin. I looked at Mary. She looked at me. Neither of us said what we were thinking, but I know I'll have to face it soon, because it already knows my name. Last night, I got a message from myself, or something that claims to be me. It came through the old CB radio in the station's back room. I hadn't touched the thing in days, thought it was just more white noise and ghost signals from somewhere deep in the trees. But at 3, Tresia, it crackled. Once, then silence, then my voice. Calm, even, almost bored. Logan Mercer, Ranger ID 4282, final entry. Initiating reset protocol. Mary bolted upright from her cot when she heard it. Is that? I didn't answer, because I already knew. It was my voice, not distorted, not mimicked. Me. Then it continued. Subject condition, spiraling. External stimuli beyond tolerances. Memory corruption detected. Cellular integration incomplete. Begin overwrite. Raven's root accepts. Then static. I just stood there, listening. I didn't even realize I was bleeding until I felt the warm drip on my foot, the spiral on my arm. It had split open, not deep, just enough for red sap to ooze out instead of blood. Mary wanted to sedate me. I nearly let her, but something in me refused. Something in me was awake now, and it didn't want to go back to sleep. We dug through the supply locker and found the original logbooks from 1970s and 80s. Most were weathered to the point of crumbling, but one still held together, typed, faded, labeled Project Itara, Field Host Observations, and halfway through it, my name, Logan Mercer. Same name, same age, same birth date. A line in bold underlined text. Subject 0040B, transfer delayed. Regression to pre-differentiation state. Reintegration cycle pending. Mary's voice shook when she read it aloud. They've been using you this whole time. Over and over. I asked her if it meant I'd been grown, made, copied. She didn't answer. Didn't have to. I went outside for air. Didn't even realize I'd wandered past the clearing, into the trees. The forest was silent again. Not peaceful, holding its breath. Waiting. That's when I saw it. A figure, not far, maybe 20 yards ahead, standing beside one of the bleeding trees. Its head tilted to the side. No light, no torch. Just the pulsing red sap casting a low, eerie glow. I called out, "Hey." It didn't move. I stepped closer. It stepped back, like it was copying me perfectly. I raised my hand. It raised its hand. I opened my mouth. It opened its mouth. But no sound came out. Just a trickle of sap from between its lips. Then it smiled. It's okay now. You're ready to return. I turned and ran. Didn't look back. Didn't breathe until I hit the station porch. When I finally did, I felt something slip from my palm. A leaf, dry, blood red, pressed between my fingers like a kiss. Mary was waiting. She'd been reading more of the files. Found a note buried in the margins. If subject begins to recognize itself, initiate final protocol. What's the final protocol? I asked. She looked up. Harvest. Another rule appeared on the wall when we weren't watching, scrawled in sap on the cabin's interior beams. Twelve. If you see yourself beyond the trees, leave the forest. You are no longer alone. Problem is, we can't leave. The trail's gone. Every compass spins, and the trees have shifted again, closing, tightening, like a throat preparing to swallow. We tried to leave, packed light, backpacks, water, compass. Mary even brought a flare gun and 2 vials of sap, sealed in reinforced glass tubes. We walked east opposite the grove just to test it, see how far we could get before the forest changed its mind. At first, it felt normal. Bird song, wind. But something was off. The trees all leaned slightly inward, like they were curved around us, forming a corridor 2 miles in. The map stopped making sense. The creek that should have been on our right was gone. The ridge that marks the boundary of Ravenwood, still ahead, still just barely visible. But no matter how far we walked, never got closer. By mile 4, Mary stopped. She looked back. I did too. And there it was. The station. Still behind us. Still right there. We hadn't moved at all. The trail was gone. No footsteps. No broken twigs. Just smooth pine needles. Like we'd been walking on skin that healed the moment we stepped away. Mary took out a flare. Fired it straight up. It didn't rise. It bent, curved, arsed back down and fizzled into the underbrush without a sound. The smoke drifted sideways and vanished. I checked my compass again, spinning, clockwise, faster, faster, until the needle snapped off. Mary opened one of the vials. She wanted to test a theory, she whispered. Logan Mercer. The sap bubbled, boiled. And then it spoke, in my voice, but wrong, layered, out of sync. He belongs to us. The trees rustled, no wind, just reaction, a low groan from the forest floor. Roots shifting, preparing. We ran, didn't talk, didn't breathe until the station was in sight again. Even then, I didn't feel safe, because the lights were on inside, and we'd turned them all off. I held Mary back, peeked through the window. Someone was at the desk, writing, slow, mechanical. Their hand trembled, twitching. Then I saw the face, meaning, only wrong, too long, too clean, too still, like it was made from memory and not flesh. We snuck in through the back, but by the time we reached the front room, he was gone. Just a sheet of paper left behind. It read, Logan Mercer, Cycle 41. Result, rejected. Repair underway. Mary stared at it. This whole place. It's not just a forest. It's a loop, a lab, a factory. Every time one of you breaks, it starts over. I felt dizzy, nauseous, like something was trying to crawl out of my skin. My spiral rash had reached my collarbone. It throbbed, felt like a heartbeat under the surface. Then the whispers came back, from inside the walls, from inside me. He remembers. Stop him. Strip the voice, strip the bone, grow him again. Mary grabbed my face, tried to center me, but her eyes were bleeding. Thin red lines from the corners like tears. We're not leaving, she whispered. There's no outside anymore. Only versions. Only growth. Then she collapsed. I tried to shake her awake. Tried to lift her. But she was getting heavier. Like her body was filling with wood. Her skin cracked at the edges of her mouth. Sap leaked out. And she whispered, I'm not Mary anymore. She's in the trees. I ran. I'm not proud of it. But I ran. Locked myself in the root cellar, sat in the dark, listening. She didn't follow, but something did. I heard it climb down after me, dragging, breathing, waiting. There was a mirror in the corner. I covered it with my jacket, because I already knew. If I looked, I wouldn't be alone. I didn't sleep. Not because I didn't want to, because I couldn't. The walls breathe now, soft, pulsing like lungs behind timber. The ceiling drips, not water, sap. And every time it hits the ground, it whispers, small, wet, slurred. Logan, reset, reset. I found my old ranger journal under the bed this morning. I didn't put it there. It was open to the first page, a sentence written in my handwriting. But I don't remember writing it. Don't trust your thoughts. They aren't all yours. I flipped through the pages, blank, until the last one. You died in the forest. We are just helping you remember. That's when the nausea hit me. Not from fear, from recognition. Memories I've never had, but that feel too real to be fake, started pouring in like bad static. Snippets, images, being dragged into the grove, flesh tearing, teeth made of bark. A voice, my voice screaming, not for help, but for completion. I think I died somewhere in Ravenwood. My body broke, maybe weeks ago, maybe before I even got here. And this version of me, this is the forest's correction. A replica that still thinks it's a man, still thinks it has a choice. I ran outside. No sun, just thick clouds and dim amber light filtering through. Time has stopped making sense. The clocks inside the station, all stuck at 3. Theresia, even the digital ones, even my watch. I smashed it. Didn't change anything. Then I saw them again. The hanging bodies. But they'd moved. No longer clustered in the grove. Now they dangled above the cabin. Each swaying gently. Each one whispering in unison. We are Logan. You are next. One of them had my old uniform. The patch was faded. But I can make out the number. Cycle 38. I'm Cycle 41. At least, I think I am. Inside, Mary's body is still on the cot, only it's not a body anymore. It's a shell, cracked at the edges, with vines slowly growing from her mouth. Her fingers are bark, her eyes open every few minutes, just long enough to weep red. I tried to bury her, but the soil rejected her, pushed her back up like a bad seed, and now she's standing near the tree line, watching, waiting. I went back to the cellar, back to the mirror. I uncovered it and saw both of us, me and the other one, standing just behind, wearing a smile that didn't belong to me. And when I turned around, no one was there. The final rule has started to etch itself into my skin. The spiral has grown across my chest now. It pulses, it burns, it forms words. 13th. When you begin to remember, the forest begins to forget, and it will do anything to fix that. I think I was supposed to forget. That's why the ASAP affects memory. That's why I keep waking up not knowing where I've been. But I'm remembering now, which means Itara will come not to kill me, to overwrite me. I found a flare, one real one, buried under the emergency pack. I don't know if it can escape the canopy, but I'm going to try. If anyone sees this, if anyone finds this story, I'm still in here, somewhere, just not alone. I set the trap at dawn, not because I thought it would work, but because I needed to know which version of me was more real. The one writing this, or the one that smiles too long and never seems to blink. The plan was simple. Lure it to the cellar, bait it with what it wants me, then use the last vial of pure ethanol and the emergency flare as a makeshift incinerator. If it bleeds sap, it burns. If it screams in my voice, at least I'll know what I'm fighting. But what I caught wasn't just a replica, it was a memory. A preserved version of myself, mid-cycle, still tethered to the forest's will. I heard it before I saw it. Footsteps on the floorboards above, heavy, measured. It opened the cellar door without hesitation and walked down slowly. Same boots, same jacket, same scars. But his eyes, they were older. Not in age, in knowledge. Like he'd done this a dozen times before. He looked at me and said, "You're newer, sloppier, not as quiet." I aimed the flare at his chest. He didn't flinch. "You think you're the real one?" "I don't know," I said, but I remember dying. He nodded. "Good. That means you're almost ready." "Ready for what?" "For acceptance." He stepped forward. I lit the flare, but he didn't burn. The fire passed through him like he wasn't fully here. His skin shimmered at the edges, like heat mirage. "I'm not the next version," he said. "I'm the original, the first imprint." They copied me over and over until the echoes got weak. So why am I still here? Because you're still asking questions, still resisting. You're dangerous to the cycle. They're watching you closely now. He tapped the wall, and a small bloom of red fungus grew instantly where his finger touched. "Every thought you have becomes part of the body." I backed away. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because I want out too." He pulled a small stone from his pocket. Not a rock, not natural. It was black, slick, and pulsing. It looked like a heart. "This is a seed, a failsafe." "A failsafe for what?" "To kill Itara." He handed it to me. The moment it touched my palm, the spiral on my arm flared bright red. I screamed, collapsed, but through the pain, I saw something flash behind my eyelids. The grove, not as it is, but as it used to be, before the ASAP, before the mouths, before the forest turned into a prison. I woke up an hour later, alone, no trace of him, but the seed was still in my hand, warm, alive, and etched into its side was a single word. "Bury." I asked the forest, aloud, "Where?" And the trees whispered back, "Where it began." "Mary's cot is empty now. Her vines are gone." But her voice plays on loop through the radio. "Cycle 41 active. Error detected. Purge pending. Cycle 41 active. Error detected. Purge pending. Cycle 41 active." I smashed the radio. The final rule appeared as I was writing this, not carved, branded, into the wall. The wood turned black and cracked until the letters revealed themselves like scars. 14. If the seed pulses in your hand, the forest knows you've seen the truth. You must bury it before the next cycle, or you will become the next cycle. I'm going to bury it at the grove, even if it kills me. Maybe especially if it does, because if I don't, I won't just lose myself. I'll be copied again and again until the forest doesn't need Logan Mercer anymore, because it will have made something better. The grove was waiting for me. I could feel it the moment I crossed Sector 12. The pressure in the air, the silence absolute. Even the insects wouldn't follow me in. Not this time. The seed in my hand pulsed steadily. Hot, rhythmic, alive, like it had a heart, or worse, like it had mine. Every step closer to the center. The spiral on my skin grew warmer. My thoughts started unraveling. Memories clashing together. Not just mine, but other versions of me. Other Logans. One terrified. One screaming. One already buried. I reached the clearing, but the grove had changed. No longer just a circle of warped trees and suspended bodies. Now it had architecture. Roots curled up from the ground to form arches. Vines weaved into columns. A shrine. Yes, but now it had the shape of a cathedral, built entirely from failed copies of me. There were bodies, dozens, maybe hundreds, each in different states of decay. Some missing limbs, some collapsed into bark, one still breathing, his mouth stitched shut with thorns. But they all had the same face, mine. At the center stood a statue, Noah being 10 feet tall, molded from bone and bark and muscle. Its torso was stretched like a drumhead, and underneath the skin, I saw movement. Hands, pressing, clawing, trying to get out. The creature turned when I stepped forward, and its face was perfect. My face, as it had once been, unscarred, calm, clean. It smiled. You've brought it. My throat went dry. Who are you? It tilted its head. I'm the best version of you they ever made. What is this place? This is the garden, where the unfinished are laid to rest. He gestured toward the bodies. All of them tried to resist. All of them failed. I held out the seed. It pulsed violently now, hot enough to blister my skin. The being's smile faded. You shouldn't have brought that here. Why not? Because if you bury it, you destroy the root. That's the idea. You are the root. I felt the ground shake. The shrine of bodies moaned in unison. A long, slow breath exhaled from the trees. My spiral flared red hot, burned through the sleeve of my jacket. I dropped to my knees. The bark beneath me opened like a mouth, exposing raw, red soil lined with writhing fibers. Waiting. You can still be part of it, the creature said. You can forget. Return. Be whole. I'd rather burn. I shoved the seed into the earth. The moment it touched soil, the grove screamed, not in sound, in memory. My ears rang with 1,000 voices, every failed version of me, crying out in pain, in joy, in horror. And then the statue lunged. It moved like a puppet with too many strings, limbs snapping, skin peeling as it tore toward me. I fired the flare, point blank, right into its chest. It didn't stop screaming, but it did start burning. The sap inside it ignited like napalm. The air turned to flame. The trees convulsed, roots thrashed. The whole grove began to fold in on itself like lungs collapsing. I ran, didn't look back. Didn't need to, because the sky above the grove turned black, and the earth beneath it caved, swallowing the shrine whole, and with it, every version of me. I collapsed on the trail, woke up hours later with the seed gone. The spiral on my arm, faded, still visible, but cold now. Dormant, I made it back to the station just before dark. Everything was quiet. Still, for the first time, the forest didn't whisper my name, didn't move, didn't breathe. On the cabin wall, another rule had appeared. Not etched, not grown, just tacked to the door like an old bulletin. Finthians, if you bury the seed, you are free. But the forest never forgets the shape of its roots. I don't know if I won. I don't know if I'm even me anymore. But tonight, the mirror showed only one reflection. And for now, that's enough. 3 days. That's how long the forest stayed quiet. No whispers, no movement, no spirals in the trees. I started to think it was over. That maybe burying the seed killed Itara for good. Then the truck came, unmarked, same as Mary's had been, rumbled up the old access road like it belonged here. I watched from the porch, shotgun in hand, and when the door opened, I felt the bottom of my world drop out, because the man who stepped out was me. Not close, not similar, exact. Same hair, same eyes, same scar on the eyebrow from when I was 9 and fell off Dad's roof. Except, his eyes were empty. He looked around the station, calm and curious. Didn't even flinch when he saw me. Just walked up and held out his hand. Logan Mercer, new posting. Got a sign this morning. I didn't shake it. I couldn't move. "Who sent you?" I asked. "Regional Command. Something about filling a vacancy. What's the last thing you remember?" He shrugged. "Woke up at HQ, took the truck, drove here. I asked if he remembered Mary. He didn't. I asked if he knew what Raven's route was. He blinked. Should I? That's when I knew. They were still doing it. Still sending copies. Even after I buried the seed. Even after I burned the grove. The forest may have quieted down. But the system that fed it, still alive, still hungry. I let him in, sat him down, gave him water, told him the rules at least. The ones that would keep him alive. I didn't mention the spiral, or the mirror, or how his left eye twitches when he lies, like mine used to. He asked to see the trail map. I gave him a blank one. He smiled, said he'd get his bearings tomorrow, and then he went to bed. I sat up all night, watching the hallway, listening to his breathing from the other room. It was the same pattern as mine. 5-second inhale, hold. 3-second exhale. Exactly. At 3. That is me. The radio turned on. Same as before. Only this time, the voice wasn't mine. It was his. Logan Mercer. Cycle 42 online. Integrity check pending. Awaiting graft. I shut it off. But not before hearing a final line. Previous host compromised. Observation required. They weren't done with me. They were watching to see what I'd do with the new one. Whether I'd play along, let the cycle start again. And maybe I should. Maybe that's how it ends. I fade into the trees. Let the next me take over. Clean slate. No spiral. No blood. Just a man doing his job. But then I looked at the rule board. The one nailed to the inside of the cabin door. And where Rule 15 had been about burying the seed, a new message had appeared. There is no last version. Only the one who breaks the loop. That means me, or it means him. I don't know what I'm going to do yet. But I know this. I won't let the forest decide for me. Not anymore. And if this new Logan tries to become me, he's going to learn what the forest forgot. I may be a copy, but I'm the one that remembers. I've been watching him. Cycle 42, this new Logan Mercer. It's not just that he's like me. It's that he's learning like me. Faster than I did. And maybe that wouldn't scare me. If I didn't think he was already talking to the forest. Day 1. He asked the right questions. Not the kind a new ranger should ask. Have you ever heard the trees breathe? Do mirrors still work this deep out? He said it with a smile. Not nervous, not curious. Certain, like he already knew the answers, but wanted to see if I'd lie. Day 2, he wandered past Sector 12. Didn't leave footprints. I followed, watched from the tree line as he walked straight up to the ruins of the grove. Where I buried the seed, he didn't touch anything, but he stood there for nearly an hour, just listening. When he came back, he didn't say a word. But I noticed his shirt. The spiral was faintly pressed against the cotton, exactly where mine had been chest to shoulder. Day 3, he brought me a cup of coffee, said it was fresh, tasted like sap. I confronted him that night, told him I knew what he was, what he might become. He didn't deny it. He just looked at me, dead calm, and said, "You weren't the first to bury the seed, you know." I froze. "What do you mean?" He smiled. "The forest lets you think you've won. It's how it learns." I slammed him against the wall, demanded answers. He didn't resist. He just whispered something into my ear. One word, soft, gentle, familiar. Reset. I blacked out. Don't know how long. Woke up on the floor, alone. The cabin door was wide open. Outside, a trail of red leaves led into the woods. His boots, his footprints, heading straight toward the old grove. I followed. Every branch felt like it was leaning out of the way for him. then closing behind him like jaws. I ran, but no matter how fast I moved, I couldn't catch up. The grove wasn't there anymore. In its place stood a spiral, massive, living, built from roots and faces and bark. At the center, something glowed, a new seed, bigger than the last, pulsing with light. It floated above the forest floor like a heart that had never stopped beating. And beneath it, Cycle 42 knelt, arms out, eyes closed, smiling. I called his name. He didn't turn, just said. Itara never stopped. It just changed shape. The spiral flared. The trees moaned. And I swear to God, I felt something move inside me. Something remembering. I pulled my knife, ran toward the center, but he opened his eyes bright red now and raised his hand. The air collapsed. My legs gave out. I hit the dirt hard. Couldn't move. Couldn't scream. He walked toward me, knelt at my side, touched the spiral on my arm like it was sacred. We're the same story, told different ways. You resist, I evolve. He stood, walked back to the seed, placed both hands on it. You try to end the cycle. I'm here to start it again correctly this time. And then the spiral responded. The ground cracked. The sky pulsed violet. The trees sang, not screamed like they were finally happy. I crawled away, half blind, bleeding, and as I reached the trail back to the station, the forest whispered, "He chose better. You chose alone." Back at the cabin now, the mirrors are showing him, not me, standing in the grove, smiling. Still me, not me. I don't know if I can stop him, but I'm going to try. Because if I don't, this forest won't just remember me. It'll become me and never forget. I've made my decision. Going back to the grove, back to that spiral, back to him. Cycle 42, or whatever Itara made him into. Because if I don't stop it now, there won't be another chance. No more cycles, no more roots, no more versions of me crawling out of the forest like wet copies desperate to be real. I found the old journal again this morning. The first one, the original Mercer's. Pages I swear weren't there before had appeared soft, waxy with sap. They were written in my handwriting, or maybe his. Same thing now, isn't it? There was a message on the last page. Burn the spiral at the root, or become the seed. Below that, coordinates. Not GPS, something older. Trail markers, ones I hadn't seen before. Until now, the forest let me find them. Let me follow. It was expecting me. It's different this time. The air is warm and heavy, like a greenhouse at night. The bark glows faintly along the trunks, pale blue veins, pulsing like soft breath beneath dead skin. The grove has changed again. Not just roots and vines now, walls, hallways. The forest has become a body, and I've walked right into its lungs. At the heart of it all stands Cycle 42. He's fused now, part of the grove. Spiral carved into his chest, burned so deep it smokes. But he's still smiling, still waiting. You came back. That means you're ready. Ready for what? I ask. For forgetting. He steps aside, reveals the seed, no longer floating. Now it's pulsing on the forest floor like a heart on display, surrounded by mirrored shards of bark, each one reflecting a different version of me. A scared one, a dying one, one with no face at all. I take out the flare gun. It's all I have left. He laughs. Fire can't kill memory. It can kill roots. I whisper. But you are the root. I fire. Not at him. At myself. At the spiral on my own arm. It lights instantly. Pain like I've never known. But I don't stop. I press my hand burning into the seed. The moment my palm touches it, it screams. The trees scream. The air warps. The The spiral tries to crawl off my body, but I don't let it. I hold it down. I burn it in. Cycle 42 howls. His smile melts. The mirrors crack, one by one. The reflections vanish, each version of me erased like old footage burning off a reel. The grove begins to collapse. Roots turn to ash. The seed splits open, not with light, but with silence. And then, darkness. I wake up on the forest floor. No spiral, no seed, no forest. Just ashes. The sun is rising. Real sun, not filtered through bark or memory. I can smell clean air for the first time in I don't know how long. Back at the station, everything is gone. Cabin walls burned, radio melted, mirror shattered, and nailed to the only beam still standing is a single piece of bark, charred black, etched in cracked lettering. No more versions, just you. I don't know what happens now, but I'm not afraid. If I'm the last one, so be it. I won't be copied again. I won't be overwritten. Because I made a choice. I remembered. I burned the spiral at the root. Let that be the end. If you're reading this, I need you to listen closely. Not with your ears, with whatever's left of you that still remembers what it feels like to be human. Because that's all I am now. Not a cycle, not a version, not a seed. Just Logan Mercer. The last one. I don't know how long it's been since I burned the grove. Time feels normal again, but I still don't trust it. The sun rises. The trees stay trees. No whispers. No rules. Even the mirror's gone. Just shards in the dirt reflecting one face. Mean. No copies. No mimic. No shadows in the corners of my eyes. I walk the perimeter each morning. Sector 12 is just a hill now. No spiral trees. No hanging bodies. The forest is quiet in a way that feels earned. Like something ancient finally went to sleep. But that doesn't mean it's dead. I don't think Itara ever truly dies. It waits. And when the right mind walks through the wrong clearing on the wrong night, it remembers, and it tries again. That's why I'm writing this. Not to scare you, to warn you. There were 15 rules once. You've heard them all. But here's the one they never wrote down. The one they hoped we'd forget. If you survive the forest, it means it chose you. Not to protect, not to guard, but to plant, to wait, to seed. I've left this letter sealed in sap. Same stuff that once tried to rewrite me. I've twisted it with bark and laid it beneath the floorboards of what's left of the station. If someone finds this, if you're human, truly human, run. Don't stay. Don't settle. Don't think you're the exception. Because even after fire, even after memory, roots remain, and the ground beneath Ravenwood still breathes. I'm leaving today. Not running, just moving on. No more flares. No more rules. I'll find a place where the trees don't talk and the dirt isn't watching. But if I hear it again, if I feel it, if something tries to call me back in, I won't answer. Because the forest doesn't deserve another version of me. This is Logan Mercer, former ranger of Ravenwood Station. And this time, I get to write the last line. Final rule. If the forest forgets you, don't remind it.